Guy Powell, and welcome to the next episode of the Backstory on AI and Marketing. And if you haven't already done so, please sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts at prorelevant.com. I am the author of the upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine, and you can find out more information on this at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. Today I'm interviewing Jade Pruitt with HelloSEO. And AI and SEO are really coming together in a big way to help all of us marketers to be significantly better on building our sites and gaining traction within Google and other search engines. Let me tell you, though, a little bit about Jade. So Jade is the founder of HelloSEO and is an SEO specialist with over 10 years of experience. She's an AI pioneer and developed strategies for CNN, Business Insider, and many other top SaaS brands. She mentors founders, teaches AI-driven SEO, and was nominated for Conductor's Women in Search Award. Wow, that sounds pretty cool. So you'll have to tell us more about that. But so maybe just let's get started and tell us your backstory on AI and marketing and how you won the Conductor's Women in Search Award.
Oh, I was just nominated. One day I'll win it.
Oh.
we'll get there eventually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I've been in the field for about 10 years. If you know anything about SEO, it changes dramatically constantly. So everything we were doing 10 years ago, you couldn't do now, essentially, or it's just a whole new world. But one of my biggest challenges over the past 5 years is I started HelloSEO in 2020. I still had a full-time job. I ended up moving to another company and really increasing my salary and also the demand of my work. But then suddenly I had a new kind of like guidepost of where I needed to be to quit my job. So I was building my company on the side, trying to match my salary, then got a higher salary and had to do so much more to get there. And I finally got to quit my job in October of 2022, which was a huge leap. And then, of course, ChatGPT hits the scene a month later in early December, which was very scary at first. The first things we were really learning about it is that people were adapting to it faster than any other SaaS product that has ever existed. So I think within the first few weeks, it had more users than Netflix had in the first 5 years of its existence, or some wild metric like that. And my first thought is just, well, SEO is over. I have ruined my life. And I was very scared of it. And I was trying to just ignore it at all costs. And I ended up meeting with another founder who was in an incubator program that I was in. And he shared with me that the best thing you can do is be curious about new technology instead of ignoring it. Like, his analogy was don't be Kodak, which is essentially, convert to being a digital camera, be curious about the next new thing, or you're basically just going to cease to exist. So I took that advice and I started really digging into it. And I discovered that there are hundreds of ways that AI is incredibly helpful to the work I do. The work I do now is, I wouldn't say completely reliant, but it becomes so much better because I'm able to use AI in different ways. And it does not take away the power of my expertise. So it's not like it's going to replace any of these marketing experts that are out there. It's just going to make them do their job easier and better.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's funny because I think a lot of folks are afraid that their job is going to be replaced and they're going to be, out on the street. And it's kind of like, it's not really the AI and everybody says it's not the AI that's going to take your job. It's the person that can wield AI, significantly better than you that might, be able to take your job. So tell us a little bit about HelloSEO.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of HelloSEO. We're a boutique SEO agency. I'm located in Columbia, South Carolina. It's me and a small team. And we basically can handle any element of SEO you throw at us. We call ourselves a full stack SEO agency. So we cover tech SEO, which is the back end side of SEO of what is going on in your code that's going to allow Google to index your pages in search or not. We create content, we do backlink acquisition. So we kind of run the gamut. And what's really fun about being a small agency, and especially being me and getting to run the small agency, is just the amount of experimentation we get to do. We're not stuck to any particular SOPs, or we don't have particular boxes to check. We can just do what's best for the client. And oftentimes my clients know if you hang around long enough, we end up running interesting little tests on you on the side with your permission, and get wild results from them. So it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that is interesting. It is so funny when you get to do experiments and then see something that you really didn't expect and go, "Wow, aha, I love that."
Right, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so AI is definitely changing the landscape on everything, and certainly it's revolutionizing SEO. So, what are some of the things that it has done? What are the top 3 or 4 things that AI has done for SEO?
That's a great question. And I can only speak to myself. Within the SEO community, everyone's using it differently. Everyone has different beliefs about AI and how it should be used and how it shouldn't be used. One of the first big concerns with AI was, is Google going to treat this content differently than content that's written by a person? And that bothered me from the beginning, because I was thinking, and I shared this with you earlier, I used to be a content writer, and I would be writing for like cardiologists and like these other like large websites. I was 22 years old at the time and had no idea what I was talking about. So I'm just pulling information from the internet and turning it into a new blog post. And that's exactly what AI does. It's just pulling other people's information, creating something that's new, but of course, like, it's not an expert on any of these things. So it's just pulling from what's already out there. And they seem really similar, except one costs less and happens, within 30 seconds, as opposed to the hour or so it took me to write a blog. And finally, Google came out and said that that's exactly how they see it. They're like, we just want to rank content that is interesting and actually answering the question and shows the person's authority and is trustworthy. That's EEAT. That's a big part of SEO. And so they do not care who has written it, if it's a robot or a person. They just matter if it's good, which I think is a pretty good way to approach that. But that was one of the big first challenges was, can we even use this? Or are we going to get penalized and thrown out of Google and all of that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is that I do remember that as being one of the the questions. How is my stuff going to rank once it's determined? And it seems like you can kind of tell whether the content was written by AI as opposed to a human. But the other thing though is that there's a lot of intelligence that still has to go through putting in the prompt and then adjusting the prompt and and trying this and tweaking it and et cetera, and until you finally get the the final content. So there is a lot of human intelligence, even though the the AI is supporting you, and it's good that that's taken place. One thing, I was talking to I was at a PR event, and these reporters were being interviewed, and they said, listen, if you write and send me a pitch that's been AI generated, I'm not going to even respond.
Absolutely.
And then, like about a half an hour later, they go, well, I use AI to write all my articles. So she doesn't want AI written on the input side, but she does want to use AI on the output side. So I'm really glad to hear that that Google is accepting it without any worries about it.
Yes. So it is accepting it, but we all know what it's like to land on a blog post or an article, and your immediate instinct is, this is not written by a person. And if you're anything like me, that immediately breaks your trust with that piece of content. I was Googling something about AI the other day, actually, and a Forbes article came up first. And I opened it, and it started with like, in today's fast-paced digital landscape or something. And I was like, this is AI, 100%. I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah.
So while it can be a very helpful tool, you have to use it in an appropriate way. Because if you're breaking trust with your readers, or if you're trying to get a press release submitted and accepted and it doesn't work, then it's kind of for nothing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of funny because everything that we seem to write with AI, the first draft you get, it always has the word delve in it. And it used to
Yes.
drive me nuts. So, we'd have to put in there as do not use the word delve.
Right. I've just been trying to make a giant list of every word I don't want it to use and see if I can work around that. I've discovered that if you just allow it to create about 10 drafts for you and you just give it more feedback every
Yeah.
single time, you can kind of season an AI chat, for lack of a better term. And then when you give it other prompts, it will write them better. But it's like you have to, take the time to really train it on what you want it to sound like.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And that does take time, and it does take kind of a systematic approach to it, which I think is really important. If you get that kind of a series of steps to your prompting, then the results that you get are going to be more appropriate and more meaningful to you and your audience.
Exactly. And that's where the expertise side comes in. You can't replace the SEO expert with AI because you still need the SEO expert's eyeballs to understand exactly if this is even valuable and like how it's going to be used. And also writing the blog post is like the first of 1,000 steps to creating a well SEO optimized piece of content, which are things that most likely will not be outsourced anytime soon. But that goes for people in social media and branding and all the other facets of marketing. You can't just give it to AI if you have no understanding of what is good.
Yeah. And I will admit there was a learning curve there. The first 6 months or so, maybe a year, we were all trying it out. So there was definitely a learning curve. So speaking of that, then what are some of the things that you should not use AI for in SEO?
That's a great question. It's terrible at keyword research, which is the foundation of any SEO strategy. If you are a plumber or a car rental service or something and you're like, "Hey, give me a list of keywords to go for," it's not using any sort of understanding of your domain authority or where you're located or any of these other things that would really matter, who your users are, like who you're trying to reach. It's going to give you these boilerplate, very generalized keywords with no knowledge of search volume or how difficult it's going to be to rank for that keyword and things like that. So that's one area where it's like, this is just a bad idea. There's a few tools that are coming out right now that will audit your website pretty well and even tell you what you need to do. But it's one of those things where if you're not familiar with editing code and all these other elements of kind of doing the tech side of SEO, it's like maybe this could be useful information in the right hands, but it's going to be hours and hours of work on your part, even if AI has kind of told you what to do. So you can try to do that, but it's probably not going to work out. And then the final thing is any sort of content that's on your website, you have to be very careful with using AI. There's nothing that you can use just one prompt with. You can't say, "Hey, write me a blog post on X," and then just copy and paste what it's given you. First of all, it will not be optimized for SEO in any way whatsoever, but it's probably going to harm you more than it's going to help you. It's probably going to break trust with your users and also not give them anything of value.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And, it's funny because when you really want to get something done, you can use one prompt and just say, well, I'm just going to rewrite. But at least it gives you an idea and a structure and the grammar. It amazes me, how well written things are. So it really does a pretty good job for that. So, but talking about SEO, then, so what kind of things do you do to really improve your SEO nowadays, and how long do you think that'll be good for before it changes again? So,
That's a great question. The fundamentals, I know I just said that nothing we did 10 years ago would work today, and that is for the most part true. But there are some fundamentals that continue to work throughout time. Making sure that your header structures are appropriate on your website. You want an H1 on every page at the top that preferably has your target keyword in it. You want to have your target keyword in your meta title as well for each page. Very intentional, little details really matter like that. You want to make sure your sitemap is submitted to Google Search Console. That's a big one. And the big thing now, and I don't see it changing anytime soon because I think it's the best we have, is building your domain authority through backlinks. Podcasting is great for backlinks. Guest posting still works incredibly well. It's something that I've kind of gone back to with a lot of my clients. For context, backlinks are when other websites link back to your website. That's how Google decides who's authoritative online. They just needed some sort of ranking factor that would show who is trustworthy and authoritative, and that's what was selected. It's been around forever. And the way that you show Google that you're authoritative is you kind of get the seal of approval from other people's sites by having a link from their site to your site. So if your website is listed on Forbes somewhere, Google's going to be like, oh my gosh, they must be very authoritative. Let's send more people to this website. So going on podcasts gets you really good backlinks. Guest posting is like the oldest one in the book, where you just trade guest posts with another service provider. For me, I love to do guest posts with other people in marketing in different ways. And those work incredibly well from an SEO perspective, but they also just drive traffic and leads into my site because they're like, oh, this branding expert really likes this SEO expert. Let's work with them. And it all kind of ties together. Digital PR is huge. Normal PR is really great for SEO. That's a long enough of a list for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, interesting that backlinks are so powerful, and so it sounds like what you're saying is that the overall kind of strategy, the same things kind of still work, but then there's a lot of nuances as I guess as a Google changes their search. What about search on like Amazon and I don't know if there's search optimization for Etsy or some of these other retail sites. Is that the case, or what happens there?
Yes, so search does exist on those sites. It's just a matter of understanding their ranking factors. And the bummer with Amazon is they keep all of their own data. So you can't really see Amazon data as clearly as you can see search data within Google or other sites, or like on YouTube. Etsy actually has there's a keyword tool for Etsy in particular where you can see what people are searching for on there. We've actually had a lot of luck with it. I haven't had an Etsy client per se that's paid me anything, but I've had friends who are selling things on Etsy and we can optimize them. But Amazon is a massive search engine, one of the biggest. And also for most e-commerce search terms, Amazon's going to be listed number one anyway. So if you're selling, baby onesies and someone Googles baby onesies in Google, Amazon's going to come up first. So it really serves you to also be ranking really high within Amazon.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And because, I know when I type into Amazon, that you're expecting, to get the most relevant results. And now there's certainly also there, it seems like there's sponsored links or whatever, but nevertheless, at least you can get pretty close pretty fast if you're in the mood for buying. So now what about, you mentioned marketing, a little bit of PR. How do both of those really fit in? Is one more important than the other, or?
That probably depends on who you ask. I have a few PR clients who would definitely say do PR before marketing. And I, of course, would say in almost every case, do SEO first, just because that's my world. And it's, what I focus on all day, every day. So I'm totally lost in it. I think it really depends on what type of business you have. And especially with e-commerce, I see PR doing a lot of good early on as opposed to marketing, which just sometimes takes a while to get going. But it really depends on who your target audience is, where they are online, if they are online, and exactly how to reach them. But I don't know why I'm stuck on baby products, but the baby product world from an SEO perspective is incredibly challenging. But if you can get a PR specialist to get you on those lists of, top 10 things to buy for a baby shower or whatever it is, that's going to be huge for your brand. So it really is a case-by-case situation.
Yeah. Well, and I would imagine too, it's the maturity of the brand. If you're looking at like a startup, and you're designing your site or you're redesigning your site, then building that properly right from the start is going to be definitely more important than PR. But once you have your site kind of done, it would seem to me anyway, then the PR is definitely going to be, much better. It'd be great to get a link from the New York Times or whatever to, like you said, the 10 best, baby onesies, for the Christmas season, and be listed on that, no question about it. And then, but it would seem like, once you get past those two things, and maybe social, of course, but, paid marketing, it wouldn't seem like that's necessarily going to help you out too much, other than maybe generating more traffic to your site, which might help, your rankings as well.
Right. And there's a lot of benefits to paid marketing. I'm, again, so on the SEO side that I often butt heads with the paid people. But it's one of those things where if you need to be at the top tomorrow and you need to be getting sales immediately, paying for ads is probably your best bet just because SEO takes a really long time. So does organic social or any sort of organic marketing. But the ads put you right in front of people's eyeballs, which is where you want to be. The problem is the moment you turn it off, it's over. So you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
invest tons in ads. If you're getting a good ROI, like that's great, go for it. But it's something where I've had clients that I haven't worked with in 3 years and they're still ranking on the first page of Google. So they're just, racking up an ROI on our work together. But then, of course, if the ads if you're not paying for them, it's just gone.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You're right. It is an on and off. Although for larger brands, I don't think that's necessarily an issue. But for certainly
Right.
mid-size, maybe and smaller, where you're advertising a bunch and then your budgets get cut, or you're done with your campaign and then you're off, and then that can have a very short-term effect. Whereas to your point, if you get the SEO right and you're ranking way up there, and that stays there for a long time, then that can be very, very valuable.
Absolutely. I used to work for a semiconductor company doing SEO, and we would have marketing meetings every Tuesday, and it was me and then the paid ads guy. And he was always the one on the hot seat, even though, sales were coming in, but he was spending, $30,000 a week on ads, and they were just paying me my salary. And so they really needed to know where that money was coming from. Even though it was a large company, it's a lot
Yeah.
to be throwing out there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, what do you see as the future then for AI in SEO?
Oh my gosh. So ChatGPT, just as an example, has its own search engine now, and it's incredible. It's so cool. And we don't have a very clear way of tracking exactly how it's choosing who it's putting in there and all that kind of stuff. But it gives you better results. You can ask follow-up questions. The other day I just put in, is HelloSEO a good SEO agency? And it, gave this full answer, included reviews from one website, a video that someone had made about me from another site. It was like this lovely answer as opposed to just like getting a bunch of review sites up. And also it prioritizes small businesses in a way that Google doesn't. So I have a wedding photographer client in Colombia. There was a giant core update in November that knocked most local businesses off the first page. And currently Google is just ranking The Knot and Wedding Wire and these like large conglomerate sites. And when you look her up in ChatGPT search, she shows up in the third position, and it's all just local results, which is very exciting for me and for local businesses to actually get to show up. But the problem is no one's really adapted to that search engine. Everyone's still using Google. Google lost just a tiny bit of market share in the last year. And when we look at who took it away, it was like Bing and DuckDuckGo. Like it's not even like an
Yeah.
AI language model. But I would love to see search kind of migrate over to more generative AI sources. I think that would be really cool. It's a very scary thing as an SEO for there suddenly to be 20 search engines to be optimizing for as opposed to just Google. But I think it would be a really cool challenge, and I think it would actually serve small businesses better. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the direction we're going, but I would be really interested to see what would happen there.
Well, I think it is. I mean, even my behavior in terms of using Google and ChatGPT, I haven't really used ChatGPT too much to do a search. Although every once in a while I kind of try it and I go, "Oh wow, that was a nice." What I like now about Google and its AI overview, I think it is right at the top there. If I do a search and I don't get that, then I'm kind of bummed out because I'm
Oh,
so used to seeing that and, and getting those answers. And then I think, Google is going to have a challenge because in the past, I may have clicked on some sponsored links, which would have generated them money.
Right.
Whereas now, I'm doing that much less, and I'm sure everybody is doing it because they're doing information gathering as opposed to, wanting to go to a specific site. I just want to know what the answer is to my question. And
Yes.
and I think then once people get used to the fact that ChatGPT can give you, search results, then I think there will be a shift over there, and that'll kind of hit Google in two big dimensions as they're trying to, keep their stock prices up and stuff like that.
Right. And there's been a lot of speculation as to why Google was putting the free generative results over their own ads lately, because of course that is how they make money. Everyone's a little curious about that. And maybe it's a temporary thing just to get us used to the new technology and then it'll swap back, or they're just experimenting, or somehow they're, profiting off of the generative AI. It is a little bit challenging from an SEO perspective that the answers are often in the search result now. We call that zero click because we can't track. You can see where that information is coming from, but when we look at our clients' analytics, obviously people aren't landing on their websites as much anymore, especially for informational things. And so it's one of those things where is, writing content and investing a lot in that as important anymore? Should we, be pivoting to other strategies, different things like that? And I honestly haven't seen it with my clients. I know for a lot of like large corporate businesses, they're seeing like massive drops in organic search right now, mostly
Wow.
for just informational things.
Yeah, yeah. So what you're saying is if people are doing an informational search, then they're no longer getting all the clicks, even though you have great informational content, because that's, I guess, then been summarized by Google AI overview. So you don't have to go, out, you get the summary, for the information you're looking for, as opposed to trying to search through it on a blog post or some other content.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Interesting.
back to baby onesies. But I had a client where we answered tons and tons of new parenting questions in their content. And the whole goal was to get people on the website and then eventually see their baby onesies or sign up for their emails or get into their universe somehow. But now, if all those people are still seeing my client's information because it's what Google is pulling from, but we're not getting the click.
Right,
We're
right.
not getting them into our universe anymore, which is pretty frustrating. And also, people are a little irritated that Google's just using what they wrote to not send people to their website anymore.
Well, so, that brings up a whole governance issue. I've interviewed a handful of client-side folks, and what they're worried about is that when they use AI, you're using other people's content and you're not paying for it, which is exactly your point.
Yes.
So should these AI engines then, when they're developing or updating their LLMs, should they somehow be paying you, a millionth of a penny for, every piece of content that you have out there, or every time it gets sourced into their answers? Because in essence, you wrote this is your stuff, and it's being summarized by some other thing.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of arguments towards just even being able to opt out of that. Like, hey, I don't want my work to be training AI
Yeah.
models. And currently I don't think there's any way to really regulate that.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could, I don't know, so there's not a meta tag you could put in there that might say, opt me out of the LLMs or something like that. I don't
You
know
could
if you'd want to
try.
do that. Yeah, no, I don't know. But it would seem like there'd be pluses and minuses to that because, if your content isn't out there, then, if when people maybe do the next detail level of search, then you're not going to be found maybe because your answer wasn't part of their answer. So,
Right, exactly. Yeah, you could pull all of your information out of index. You could put some robots texts in place, but that's going to hurt you in a thousand other ways and it's a mess. But
well,
it's
I'm glad
early
we got
days.
that. Yeah, I'm glad we got that cleared up. It's a mess.
It's a mess.
That's all. Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. So, how do you see SEO really plugging into other marketing teams and within I guess a mid-sized to a large organization to really make sure that you're driving, for the money that's being invested, that you're driving good ROI?
That's a great question. It seems like, especially now, SEO needs to kind of have a seat at the table with every other part of the marketing and branding and website building strategy. I can even be helpful when you're deciding what types of products to sell. If you're, opening up a new store, we can look at search volume and see what people are even asking for. It's incredibly beneficial from all different sides of building a business, other than just showing up in search. But I know something I've been focused on, especially in 2025, is being as involved as possible, as early as possible. So I like to get involved with business owners when they have the idea for the business, so that I can be there every step of the way of copy being written, the website being built. There's going to be certain ways that you can build a sitemap that are going to be more beneficial from an SEO perspective than not. From a full-on branding perspective, social media, all the different little elements. There's just a few little things you can just tweak typically to really benefit SEO, and then also have SEO really benefit your angles of the business. And one thing that I've accidentally gotten into lately is helping PR agencies prove their worth through SEO tools. Oftentimes, they can show you the placements you've been getting, but they can't show you how valuable they are. And with a tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs, they can send me a blog post or an article in Glamour that they've just gotten a client featured in. And I can say, hey, if they were going to pay for this placement, it would cost them $100,000 a month or something like that. And suddenly that placement looks a lot better than just, oh, hey, look, you're in Glamour, So working on helping other people kind of manage their data as well has been interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I wouldn't have thought about using it that way, but that definitely makes a whole lot of sense, where you can take advantage of, that placement in Glamour magazine or whatever, and then see the results in the search or whatever, what's coming across the transom and leads and what have you. Oh, that is fascinating. So, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say too, SEO is so data driven, and most, I won't say all, but a lot of the other disciplines within marketing are more on the creative side. And so for a lot of the clients I have, I'm also the person who understands their analytics the best, which gives me some value as well. I'm the one who has to get in there and, fix all of their events and things like that in their analytics and make everything work, and then explain to them, what is working, what isn't working. So having an SEO around is helpful in general.
Yeah. Very interesting. No, that helps a lot. Well, I wish we could keep on going, but I do have one last question for you, and that is, what advice would you give an up and coming new marketer that is coming right out of college and trying to compete against an AI engine, for a job, so to speak?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be challenging. I think it's tough because it gets rid of that entry level point. It was already hard to get a job in marketing when I was starting off. You somehow needed to have 5 years of experience out of college to land an entry level position. But now it's like the content writers are often replaced, all of these different things. My advice would be stay curious with AI, learn how to use it to your advantage. Potentially start off on your own and build your own expertise as a freelancer, and then jump into a career if you so choose. But find ways to stand out and discover what you can do that AI can't do, or what other people are not willing to do, and go from there.
Well, it's interesting the way you put that. What do you think about how can somebody coming out of college be better at using AI to add value as opposed to trying to be different from AI?
I think that's up to them to figure out in their particular discipline. There's, endless things that you can do with AI. I guess for myself, I often find myself learning the fundamentals, read the book, take the class, whatever it is, and then just use that as kind of a springboard to make it your own.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, it'll be an interesting ride. I'm so excited about what's coming up around the corner. The change is just incredible. It's fun to see that change and be part of it. So
it's truly wild.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Jade, thank you so much for participating and being available. And And I learned a lot about, how strategic and valuable SEO can be to really support and be a big component of your marketing and PR strategy. Where can people reach you and find out more about your company?
Yeah, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Jade Pruitt from HelloSEO. HelloSEO.com is my website. You can connect with me there. I have a free SEO report card on my site if you're curious about your own SEO, and it'll give you some instant insights. It's nice in its own right, but the best part about it is then I will make you a Loom video explaining everything to you. So you'll get some actual real insights on your SEO within a couple of days.
Wow. Well, I will take advantage of that. I'm on the board of a couple of nonprofits, and I know our sites are just bad.
Oh my gosh, I can't
But
wait.
yeah, so I'll submit, one of them in any case, just because I'm curious, and we're about to actually do a little bit of marketing to get some folks to a big event we're planning. But yeah, thank you for that. That's great. So helloseo.com, and then you can find Jade Pruitt on LinkedIn, of course. So for the audience, stay tuned for many other videos in this series of the backstory on marketing and AI. And if you want to find out more about my book, The AI Marketing Machine, that'll be coming out in the next few months, go to marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. And of course, if you liked this video and this great information on SEO, please rate this podcast with 5 stars. Jade, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.